Yes, I know. I missed the crack wall here. Hopefully there weren't a really large amount of comments telling me that I missed this. I do these parts way in advance, so I haven't read the comments section. None of my videos have even been uploaded yet at the time of this recording. It's weird how when you warp onto deep water, then you're standing on it for a brief moment before you start swimming. And the Titan's Mitt is absolutely necessary for getting to Misery Mire and Ice Ruins, or Ice Palace. I forget which it's called. The magic flames will protect you inside this icy dungeon. No shit! I never would have guessed. Actually, the hookshot is a lot more useful than the fire rod. The fire rod is only necessary for defeating the ice monsters, which are basically recolors of the annoying sandmen from the Desert of Doubt. Or no, it was called the Desert of Mystery here. Or was it the Desert of Doubt? I think I'm thinking of Four Swords Adventures. I don't know. Anyways, the hookshot's a lot more useful here because look at all the enemies that it one-shots. It one-shots the annoying penguins, it one-shots the blue jellyfish. And this is an interesting way to use a block puzzle. You push it in a different way every time depending on which door you emerge from. I really hate the ice floors in this dungeon. It just screws up your controls in a way that's hard to describe. You take forever to start accelerating from a standstill when you're on the ice floors. The physics are really screwed up, and you control really horribly when on these things. And there's ice floors everywhere, although at least it's not as bad as it could be. Well, that was pointless. Why do they even bother having a door leading to the east then? It's purely just to troll you. This is a dungeon that I have a grudge against because it has a really annoying puzzle at the end of it, where it forces you to do a lot of backtracking to push 2 blocks down. It does a lot. It makes you do a lot of backtracking in order to get a block onto a switch. And they took that out in the Game Boy Advance version, which is really good. But if you know how to take advantage of the non-linearity of the game, then you can beat this game. Then you can beat this dungeon the smart way by actually having the Cane of Somaria by the time you get here. In which case, you can easily cheese past the worst puzzle in the game just with a single item. And why was he called the Skeleton Knight? He's the Stalfos. Well, no, the Stalfos were the things that jumped away from you, I guess. The Skeleton Knights are more like the Stalfos of Zelda 2. Only they're the first versions of these that require you to have the bombs. That was an annoying room. And this is a really cheap part. If you don't use well, I was going to say the invincibility items, but you're actually invincible when you're being dragged by the hookshot. I guess they made it that way so it's simpler to program. So the hookshot can also avoid damage, and I guess that's what you're supposed to do. So I guess it's not cheap, but it's still pretty easy to get knocked into the pit by that fire thing. But yeah, the conveyor belts are annoying. This room is... Oh, don't waste your time coming here. Don't waste your time coming here yet. It's better to dash into the stairs so that you can... Because the icy floor makes it really hard to go down the stairs. So it's better to just dash, because then you're guaranteed to go in a straight line. God, I hate cracked floors that don't blow up. So it's better to place the bomb in the exact place that I put it in, because then you're guaranteed to get the hole to appear. Unfortunately, that hole it vanishes if you don't. It vanishes after you go through it, which is annoying. Those shadow monsters are pretty annoying too. And this really isn't. This is a pretty. That's a pretty cheap room to have an anti-fairy going around. And look at this. This is why I hate the ice floors. I was flickering there. I had mercy invincibility there, and that's why I was able to go through the fire bar without getting hurt. But you couldn't see that I was flickering because of the way that the game was recorded. Which is weird because it says they can record 60 frames per second just fine, and Unleashed footage turns out just fine, so I don't know. I guess it's the compression or something. At least killing them with the fire rod one-shots them. That's good at least. But yeah, this is a dungeon that I hate. Because there's just so many things that annoy me about it. The ice floors make your controls suck, and there's too much backtracking, and it's really easy for me to get lost and forget exactly how I'm supposed to progress. And there's also bumpers here, because that's what we need in a place full of traps. Really? That's a Captain Obvious hint. And look, I was clearly moving down there, and yet I was sliding to the right. That's a perfect example of how horrible the controls are. You need the hookshot to get past that section. I mean, if you're on an emulator, then you can use a emulator-specific turbo controller to constantly press A every single frame, and then you can use a Pegasus dash glitch to get across bottomless pits. And you can actually use that in Hyrule Castle's pit area. And because there's no wall on the right side of the screen, you can scroll to the right and start being underneath the floor. And then you can use the walk through walls code that way. But you can only use the Pegasus Boots glitch if you're playing on an emulator, because the turbo controllers for the real Super Nintendo, they don't share timing information with the game. So you can't have A be pressed every single frame on the real Super Nintendo. So the Pegasus Dash is a glitch only exclusive to the emulator version because of that. So it's not really a glitch, more like a programming quirk that can be exploited. I can't believe I have to come through this room again. The Pegasus boots make the ice floor more tolerable, but they only let you go in a straight line. So, and there's so many things that you have to move around, so it's really not convenient. Link's hurt animations are really weird. Like, when he's hurt, when he's facing down, his eyes disappear or something, and it looks pretty weird. So I don't really like his hurt animations. The blue male and the red male look pretty weird because they're not entirely blue or entirely red. As you can see, he has a yellow hat as well as a blue shirt. And it looks really weird. It looked really weird. And a weird graphical quirk exclusive to the Super Nintendo version is that, well, usually the power gloves make the hands of your character look gray, and the Titan's mitts will make them look gold. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes the hands just look normally colored. Fuck you, puzzle. Fuck you. That's the smart way to get past that puzzle. So, pity on you if you thought that because the game was telling you that... Because on the Dark World map, the dungeons are clearly labeled as such, which is good, but they also have numbers over them. So it's hard for you to know that you can complete the puzzles in any order on your first playthrough. Here's the perfect way to fight this boss. You usually have to waste a whole bunch of magic with a fire rod to get past that part. The ice blocks falling from the ceiling are really annoying because you're standing still. So of course you're gonna get hit by them. And then they split up into 4. So it's pretty easy to get hit by them too. The fire rod deals a lot more damage than the sword does. So you're better off using it. And this is nightmarish. This is nightmarish if you're trying to use the hammer to attack these guys. Since you have the fire rod, you'd probably use that instead. But you're gonna need a medicine and magic. It's easy to run out of magic in this dungeon if you aren't careful. And a funny story is that when I was playing a level 1 sword run of the GBA version, I got to this point, I beat the boss, but the crystal never dropped. And you can't pause the game after the crystal is about to drop. It's not like in the light world where you can pause the game before the pendant drops, which is really stupid. So because you can't pause the game and you can't save and quit either, all of your progress was lost and you have to reset the game. And I don't know why the crystal didn't drop because the game knew that I was in the dark world. And I wasn't using codes either. It was a different run. And I didn't mention it before, but all of my files being corrupted incident is what caused me to foolishly throw away my action replay for my Game Boy Advance. Something that I still regret to this day. Like, cause action replays for handheld games are pretty hard to find and expensive. Like, I was really lucky that I got one for my DS. Oh yeah, this is another thing that a Quake Medallion can do, and it's completely useless. It's basically a bigger version of magic powder, but only a few enemies can get affected by it. Like the soldiers can, but some enemies are just destroyed by the Quake Medallion, and others aren't affected at all. And obviously the bosses are immune to medallions because that would be pretty cheap otherwise. I haven't gone to this section yet. It's really annoying. I mean, look at how easy it is to get hurt by the boulders. You're in a really cramped area. So, and the enemies are solid. You can't go through them. So it's a really annoying section all around. But anyways, I was really lucky that I could get an action replay for my DS because, as it turns out, it was the last one available in America. And I'm Canadian, so I had to get it shipped to me. So I was really lucky that I managed to get that. Because I used to have an action replay for my DS, but I foolishly threw it away. I don't know why I kept throwing away my action replays. That was really dumb of me as a kid. But I got another one, and it's the action replay for the DSi, which is better because it's a more advanced version. And so there's more games that it'll work with. I mean, I think you can plug it into the computer and use a USB something to update it that way. But I have no idea how you do that. I think you download something. Whatever. You can also manually input codes, which is good because no cheating device worth their salt would have you not be able to input codes, datal, or datal, however it's pronounced. Like, I have an action replay for my GameCube too, and the one that I always had as a kid, it would have an action replay memory card that you put in slot B at all times, and you had that in it so that you could use the cheating device. And eventually eventually the disc or the memory card stopped working, and so I threw it away. And I hope it wasn't the disc that I threw away when the card stopped working, because after that, the action replay that I replaced it with, the data one, it doesn't let you add cheats at all. And did they really think that the default code list was good enough? Really? Because there are so many codes that are very sorely missing from games in the default code list. And I guess there's some rumors going around that there's some codes that fans make that can destroy your game data or something like that, but I don't really believe that, and the fact that Datul would give into those rumors and release a blatantly inferior version of the action replay, it just annoys the hell out of me, because now I'm stuck with it. And not only is it annoying because the action replay doesn't let you add new codes, it's also incredibly annoying because it seems like there's always a chance that the game will freeze when it asks me to put in a disk after I've inputted the codes. And there are certain games that it was almost guaranteed to freeze at. Like, I actually had to get an entirely new action replay so that I could use codes for Harvest Moon Magical Melody, because before, it was always guaranteed to freeze rather than move on to the game. And I never had a freezing problem with the original good version of the action replay. I didn't mean to go off on a whole codes tangent, but codes were a pretty big part of my childhood, and so is this game. It just annoys me when cheating devices either go wrong or they don't let you add in new codes, and they just assume for some bizarre reason that the default code list is enough, when it really isn't. Oh boy, this room. And I hate it when that happens. The treasure chests here contain rupees. That's literally it. And as you can see, at this point in the game, rupees are worthless. And it sucks that rupees are the only treasure they can give you. And most of the treasure in this game is worthless. You have more bombs and arrows than you know what to do with. And you have more rupees than you know what to do with. And hearts aren't a big deal either, so practically all of the treasure you get is worthless. Aside from the dungeon items, obviously. I think the only Zelda game that really fixed the only top-down Zelda game that really fixed the rupee problem was Minish Cap. Although Zelda 1 didn't really have that as a problem either. Despite the fact that the wallet size was a lot smaller, because there were so many different things you could buy. And you could even buy keys and save up for a bomb upgrade. But most Zelda games, they don't really give you a lot of opportunities to spend money, and so most of the treasure is worthless. The only reason you open the chest is for the satisfaction of opening it. Pound the stakes in exactly the way I showed you. They're going to make, if you try to use a magic item when you don't have enough magic, then it'll make a specific sound. And that's the sound that it plays if you get the puzzle here wrong. It's so lazy how it just disappears. I mean, I'm not really about graphics. I'm not really about nitpicking graphics, but it's pretty lazy how it just disappears instead of crumbling. I mean, even Link's Awakening had a crumble. I'll see you in the next part.